fellow Toastmasters, and those young professionals who want to be very successful in your life. Good evening.
Good evening.
Today, I am going to read a few pages from this book, Go Kiss the World, written by Sukdeb Bakshi. Who is Sukdeb Bakshi? Sukdeb Bakshi is a commerce graduate who started his life as a lower division clerk in a state government, Odisha in India, and finally he co-founded Mindtree Consultancy Company, which has become one of the finest ethical companies in India. Why I am reading this book? Because through the eyes of the author, through the feeling of the author, I could see myself. Yes, I am not a co-founder of a $300 million company, but still I could see. And especially I will read his interactions with his mother. When I read this book, I remembered my mother several times. Let's start with the background of this book, how he has written this book. What he wrote in the epilogue, that I delivered the inaugural speech to the class of 2004 at the Indian Institute of Management, Bangalore, titled Go Kiss the World. In that, I spoke about my upbringing in small town India, how my parents raised me, and I shared the lessons I had learned from my parents. I had no idea that time that the speech could develop a life of its own over the internet. I was overwhelmed with the response it generated, and it occurred to me that I could share my entire life with my readers and wrapped around it a few lessons from my personal journey of hope. Then at the end he is writing that the purpose of writing this book is to tell millions of young professionals, and particularly the people from small towns in India or in other places, that it is possible to make it in life like I did. But making it in life is not about material benefits and carving individual success. It is about moving from brightness to greater brightness, while taking people along. It is not about making it big, but it's about making it good. That's his message. Now next I will read his interactions with the mother, especially like her mother underwent surgery for the cataract and then became blind. This is a very touching part and I read it many times. So just few lines I will read from there. When I was 4 or 5 years old, it became apparent to me that my mother could not see very well. She used to ask me to help her with threading the needle whenever she needed to mend an old garment. Her gradual loss of sight had started long before I was born. Apparently, she had developed early signs of cataract. Once you develop cataract, you have to wait until it matures before it can be removed. My mother had to wait for decades for the surgery, till the cataract matured in one eye and then, after many months, in another eye. As a result of her blurred vision, she could not read very well. She would ask me to read daily newspaper to her. India was at war with Pakistan, and she wanted to know every small detail of what was going on. As an 8-year-old boy, I was happy to read out in the loud voices of the story of the war. Eyes closed, she would listen, occasionally crying for the fallen and cheering for the brave soldiers of the nation. This was also the time when she was taken for a cataract operation all the way to the eye hospital Tata Steel ran in Jamshedpur. It was the longest I had stayed away from her. I did not mind the separation because soon she would be able to see. After weeks, she finally returned, and seeing me, exclaimed how fair I was. She had never seen me before, without the haze in her eye. Even today, I blush at the thought of her exclamation. It remains the biggest compliments any woman has ever given me. Then what happened, like her mother went for some tumor operation in the eyes and she became blind, which he is writing in this book like this. When she came back from the hospital after the second operation, when the bandage was finally removed and my mother was asked to check her vision, she walked into a flower bed she and I planted together. It had bloomed in Rita's color. It became clear to everyone that she was now blind in both eyes. The first task for her was to learn to take care of herself. She learned that slowly but surely, combing her own hair, changing clothes, then cleaning her own room, and finally returning to the kitchen, this time only to cut the vegetables. When she knew that her blindness was irreversible, she stopped praying for herself. But she prayed than even before. For now, she had to pray for the whole world. The name of the wife of the author is Sushmita. And this he is writing at the later part of his career when he was very successful. Supradabachi. That many years later, when Sushmita and I made our home, she came to live with us. My time with her used to be when the days, in the events as Sushmita and I talked, listened intently to the day's events. She had the power to comprehend a world so different from hers, a world separated by many walls, including her loss of sight and only a high school education. But she could effortlessly scale those walls. And I realize today that our ability to connect and comprehend is not so much a function of our education. Human potential is infinite, and the fundamental requirement is not intellect, but the inclusion. She lived a life in which everything, just everything belonged to her. She was life itself. What did she experience with her two eyes that were open but had no vision in them? Did she only see darkness? No. She had told me, I only see light, infinite light. Our vision is not always a function of our capability to see. It is our willingness to open up our inner eye to the limitless universe that leads up the path of our existence. The last part is that he was very successful. He was in US at the head of the operation, and his mother was sick. He came from US to see her, and he is writing this one. I was leaving for the United States, where I worked. After a 2-week vigil by my mother's bedside in a hospital in Bhubaneswar, Orissa, she had suffered a near-fatal stroke. She was neither getting better nor moving on. My weight was not helping. So I, her last born, thought it was the time to get back to work. On my way to the airport, I decided to stop by at the hospital one last time. An airy midway quite hung around the government hospital. Walking past listless cows and a couple of resident stray dogs in the compound, I entered her room. She lay on the bed, just like the night before, quiet and unmoving. I held her hand in my palm. After a few minutes, as I bent to kiss her forehead, wrinkled with age, but still beautiful, she asked me in a garbled voice, "Why are you kissing me?" "Why not?" I asked. She replied simply, "Go, kiss the world." Those were my blind mother's last words to me, and they became the guiding principle of my life. Go, kiss the world by Sukdeb.